Missouri Senator Roy Blunt. Good morning, Senator. Good to see you.
Good morning, Chris. Nice to be with you.
What's your response to this confusion, and what would you say to these frustrated families who believe it's just simply taking too long to organize all this and to identify the victims?
Well, it's a terrible situation, and I'm very sympathetic to the families, and I'm frankly very sympathetic to the people trying to figure out how to deal with this problem, not knowing where people are, a level of destruction that for somebody like me who's seen the aftermath of lots of tornadoes, I've frankly never seen anything like this, where the path of the tornado really just sort of ground things up. And so trying to figure out where a missing person might be. That list is narrowed dramatically over the week as people have called in and said, we're at my brother's house 40 miles away or whatever, but there are 100 tragic stories of people who we know are gone and the bodies have been found, and I can tell you some of those, and then tragic stories of people who are still trying to find one of their children or their spouse, or it's a very bad situation. In fact, I'm following up on my conversation earlier this week with Secretary Napolitano and asking the President and the Secretary to do all they can to maximize the reimbursement for all efforts, and obviously we're working hard to see that we can give the support we need to people who are trying to coordinate what's happening on the ground. But it's incredibly chaotic because it's truly extraordinary by any measure that I'm aware of.
Well, you were on the scene in Joplin earlier this week, and I think you said that as you were driving through parts of the city, you didn't even recognize it. That's obviously how bad the situation is. So when do you see the point being where they can actually start to get organized, start the cleanup, start to really seriously talk about rebuilding? Because we had a report earlier this morning where our correspondent said people don't know what to do. They don't have homes, they don't have neighborhoods. Where do you go? What do you do?
Well, Chris, I'm very familiar with the community. I live an hour from there. The 14 years I was in the House of Representatives, I had an office in Joplin, so I've literally been there hundreds of times. And as you said, not only me, but the police sergeant that was driving me around, who's even more familiar than I am, we had to occasionally try to find a knockdown traffic sign or something with the street address on it so we'd know which corner they were on. Literally everything looks like everything else. And, you know, a handful of schools destroyed, the hospital that employs 1,700 people. And back to your question, the cleanup will be easier once the search is over. As long as you're still searching for individuals, you've got to be very thoughtful about the cleanup, and particularly in this level of destruction, you have no idea where somebody is. And so as soon as we can come to closure on the recovery effort, the rescue effort, we can then move into the recovery effort. And everybody is anxious to do that, but not so anxious that somebody's void in their life isn't filled the best way possible, hopefully with somebody that might still be alive, but after that, trying to be sure that you recover anything that answers that question of what happened to this person that I care for so much.
So much yet to be done. Missouri Senator Roy Blunt, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Here's a look at some stories people are talking about right now.